to Before You Go, the official podcast of ABODE Contemplative Care for the Dying.
At ABODE, our vision is that we live in a world where death is not feared and we live fully until we die. And we'd like to make that happen before we go. I'm Mary Thorsby, ABODE's CEO.
I'm Natalie Buster, ABODE's end-of-life doula and yoga director. Welcome to Before You Go.
Hello,
Hi, Mary.
Natalie.
I love it. Mary, I am kind of sad.
Tell me why.
This is our last podcast of season 1. This is our last episode.
Devastated.
Devastated. But you know what they say, always leave them wanting more. And I'm thinking that people are going to want more at the end of this season, after this episode today. They're going to want more, Mary.
All right, we'll leave some for the fans in the stands.
Well, I thought that we would do a little top 10 list today. But before we do, Mary, you have a wonderful contemplative moment.
I do. As is ABODE's custom, we always take a moment to get our hair on straight, leave all our troubles at the doorstep, and just focus on the special time we have together. So we had a fabulous time with Alua Arthur, who came to help us celebrate our 10th anniversary at ABODE. And she asked so many poignant questions, and this one I love so much. And here's her question for us to ponder today and many days. She asks, what must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may live presently and die gracefully? What must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may live presently and die gracefully? So if that doesn't inspire you to get your hair on straight, I don't know what does.
Yeah. I loved how she formulated that question too. Not what should I do, what can I do, but what must I do?
Right. What must I do? It's an intention that there's not a lot of wiggle room around it, nor should there be. This is, as we've said many times, this is our one shot. It's our one opportunity. To quote Eminem, and why not make the best of it, right?
I agree. We only got one shot. How's that go? Well, we got a
Well, we
trademark.
got one shot, one opportunity, in other words.
In other words, and that's all we can say because of trademark. Thank you. Well, Mary, since it's our last episode, I think you and I are of the age where we appreciated David Letterman and his top 10 lists that he would do every night. And I thought it would be fun for us to do a top 10 list of our year at ABODE 2024, reflecting back on all the goodness. And it was hard to just keep it to 10. There were so many things that happened this year that were beyond our wildest dreams. But we managed to kind of distill it down to just 10 items to discuss at this episode. And I'm sure we'll come up with more as soon as we're done recording. Like, oh, we forgot to mention that.
Take us through.
I will. So you mentioned Alua. I am officially in love with a celebrity death doula named Alua Arthur. I'm not ashamed to admit it. She came to speak for our 10-year anniversary in September. And it was like a sold-out house. It was at the Church of Reconciliation in San Antonio, Texas. She flew all the way out to be with us to help us celebrate our co-founders, Edwin and Patsy Sasek, and the fact that ABODE has been around for 10 years. I don't know. It was like as if it was yesterday that she was speaking, because her words still really they've sunk into my bones. What were some of your takeaways from that glorious speech that she gave?
Oh, gosh. Among the many, and her book as well. She's just so honest and raw. And she hit a point in her life where she was suffering from such depression. And it was only until she met someone who was dying, and struck up a conversation and was able to realize she had so much help that she could provide. So I think once she found something that just really called to her and that it was in service to someone else, it just blossomed from there. So I think that's so inspirational. It really is finding what your passion is, and then making a career, making a life around it that can be so satisfying and so gratifying and so inspirational to all of us.
Oh, I agree. What I really love that she said, and it's something that we try and talk about in our end of life doula training as well, is that you may be called to this work, but you can make it your own by really bringing your own special gifts. And you may find that some things aren't in that special gift box, but that you have something so unique as an individual that you can offer that authentic care and love to serving people at the end of life. And that really resonated with me. Like I said, we celebrated Edwin and Patsy Sasek, the co founders of Abode. We got a declaration from the mayor of San Antonio about our good work. And we raised a lot of money for Abode with the ticket sales. So, muchas gracias to Elua Arthur for helping bring this all together.
Yes, and to everyone who helped make it happen. So is that number 10 on the top 10 list? Number 10.
I mean, nothing. We can't really play favorites because everything was so amazing. I kind of started with like the for me the most exciting thing. Um, September was a busy month for us, Mary. I don't know if you remember. I'm still catching up on my sleep from September. But right before Alua came out, we also had the Big Give. And I wonder if you can tell our listeners about that particular fundraising event that happens in San Antonio and I think all over the country.
All over the country, and sometimes it's called different things, but it's a 24-hour online day of giving. And you and your dad kicked it off for us with an evening with Natalie and Jerry, and the theme was disco and death and disco. So they played the guitar and sang disco songs along with all of our other favorite tunes from the 60s and 70s. And we had a wonderful a turnout, and our big give was a huge success. Let's see, we raised over $65,000
In just 24 hours.
in 24 hours. Abode runs on donations and grants, so this was incredibly helpful to us, and we're very, very grateful.
And is this the only time that people can donate to Abode, Mary?
Natalie, people are welcome to donate any time of day, as many times per day as they would like, as much as they would like. So our donate button is available, and we also accept checks and cash. So bring it on.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a wonderful thing and I am just astonished. I feel like we keep topping ourselves every year with that big give and it just that we just continue to reach more people with our messaging. We are able to help more people both at Abode and with our Abode at Home doula dispatch service, which also, we started this year. So we started the Abode at Home doula dispatch service where graduates from our award-winning end of life doula training are dispatched to people's homes, people who prefer to die at home or have the means or ability to die at home. And it allows us to give that contemplative care, that abode touch to serving people at home at the end of life. And this, we were really conservative in our estimations of how many people we would serve. I think we said, so maybe 10 people. This is our first year. And at this point, at the time of this recording, I think we've served gosh, over 50 people. I mean, it's pretty amazing. We've touched them in some way or another, either people who are actively dying or people who are grieving the loss of someone who has recently died. Our doulas are top notch, and I just couldn't be more proud of them. So that's been super exciting that we've launched this year.
Yes, it has. And just a great experience all the way around.
Yeah. So that kind of goes into this number 3, no particular order, but just number 3 on my list is this end of life doula certification, the ABODE way. And Mary, we won an award for this, didn't we? For both of these services.
Yes, earlier this year, the San Antonio Business Journal gave us the 2024 Healthcare Heroes Award. We were among numerous recipients, and just so nice that you don't think of end of life care necessarily as health care because folks are dying, but it's actually the last step when it comes to healthcare. So I was really happy to see a boat honored in that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was such a an honor, to use your word, to see all of the hard work that we've done in making sure that our doula training has that contemplative approach, that we really foster that sense of don't know mind and letting the guest lead the way, and that we, I think, are the only doula training program that offers hands on care so that our students have the opportunity to actually care for people at the end of life during their training. And I'm telling you, I can't stress how important this is and how important it is that the first time our doulas do the work, the first time that they step across that threshold into the remote guest's home that they're serving, that it's not the first time that they're seeing bedside care and actually seeing a dying person. And so we're able to let them meet and work with our guests at abode that we have the privilege of caring for. And it makes such a difference.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really fun to have our students in the house with us, shadowing our end of life navigators, hearing firsthand hospice nurses, conversations with families and with our guests. I think it's just invaluable training.
It really is, and I'm so proud of it, and I'm so happy to be doing it with you. We have so much fun, and I learn something new every time we run this program. Each student in our cohort has some amazing life experience that have brought them to this path, and so I'm just constantly learning, which is super exciting for me. All right, next, but certainly not low on the list, I think we're at number 4, is the end of life yoga certification. Mary, I got a shout out from Alua Arthur from the stage about how cool our end of life yoga certification is. I think that was a highlight of my whole year.
Wow. Well, absolutely, and well deserved. I have no doubt that end of life yoga is the next big thing in our beautiful field of work, especially as folks who have participated in yoga and now they're older and they're at end of life or younger and at end of life. I think they're going to want a doula with yoga as a background. And we're not talking about the pretzel poses. We're talking about breath and meditation. And well, you tell it best, Natalie, because you teach the class.
Yeah, I think it's such a wonderful lens to look at end of life care through. And like you said, a lot of people do yoga. A lot of people do kind of the exercise or Western form of yoga. But yoga is not just exercise. Like you said, it's not all pretzel positions. It's not a religion either. It's a philosophy. And so it's an opportunity for us to care for people at end of life using the breath, using meditation, using gentle movements just to allow them to be more comfortable in their end of life time on this earth. And again, the students that we had in our first kula, which is cohort, but kula is the Sanskrit word for people who study together. Um, again, I just learned so much from each and every person who we trained. And I really see this going out into helping caregivers. So sending a yogi doula out to hospice teams and helping them with the amounts of caregiving that can tend to weigh on them, the grief that I think we forget that a lot of our caregivers experience when they work in this field. And so I really want to send our yogi doulas to hospice teams. I want to send them to nursing homes. I want to send them to places like Abode. Obviously, we have some at Abode. And also being able to serve people in their own home through these yogic practices. And it's so funny. Like, people sometimes are like, I can't do yoga. And then we show them some of the things that we learn and we say, you just did yoga. And they say, oh my goodness, I feel so much better. So we are all about making people feel as good as they can at the end of life. And the end of life yoga is one way that we can do that.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, in the spring, we had a really cool event that also raised a lot of money for us at Abode. It was our annual art show, led and heralded by Patsy Sasick, our co founder. She is an artist. She and her husband, Edwin, are both artists. And they have a lot of artists' friends, and they were able to bring a lot of these people to showcase their art and help us raise money for Abode. Ah, it's such a beautiful event.
It is. The fact that Abode was created by artists and understanding how art plays such a role in a contemplative foundation of our home. There's beautiful art everywhere. And it's carefully selected and placed so that it contributes to the sense of warmth and peace and just making Abode an even more beautiful place for people to be at end of life. So artists have supported Abode from the get-go, and the art show is a great way to showcase the wonderful artists here in San Antonio, sell their art, and we get a portion of the proceeds. So we love that event. We look forward to doing it every spring.
Oh, and I think I probably spent my paycheck on art at the art show, but I was happy to do so because it's beautiful art and it's San Antonio artists that are really well known and beloved and kind of valued and prized as artists. And so my living room looks beautiful and I'm also doing a good deed. And it brings me just to another idea of using art as a way to contemplate death is through memento mori. And we talk about that at times on this podcast of just that remembering death and remembering our mortality. And there's beautiful art forms, artwork that showcase skulls and different forms of the dying process in a very beautiful and profound way. And so I love that we are able to show that as well. Yeah. So going to numero six, um, we had our volunteer and staff training, and this is something we do every year. I feel like this year was pretty spectacular, wouldn't you say?
I would. We have more and more people every year. This year we had 60 participants who got to experience, the essence of Abode, meet all the staff, wonderful conversations and training sessions. We talked about our Abode values and how we fit into the bigger picture of the end of life movement going on in the US. There are 46 homes that are similar to ours. They're all independent nonprofits, but there's 46 across the US and I think another 66 in development. So this is a movement that has caught on and will continue to grow. And we're all part of something very exciting. So the more people who want to come and share their time and their talents with us, the better.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so many different ways you can share your talents. Like we have people who love cooking, and so people can make food and feed people at Abode. Our staff and our volunteers need to eat as well. And so that's one way. We talked about art is another way that people can offer their talents. Some people love gardening, some people really love cleaning and putting everything in its place, and that brings them a lot of joy. Some people are really good at sitting vigil and being with people as they're dying, listening to their stories. And so, to your point, there's a place for everyone at Abode. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned the Omega Home Council.
Yeah, it's a wonderful organization that shares resources and folks answer each other's questions. It's a really very much a valued resource that we use at Abode.
Yeah, and so a lot of the things that we offered at our volunteer and staff training, you and several of the team members at Abode were also able to educate people at the annual conference this summer. And so the Abode way is catching on, wouldn't you say?
I would say, I think we have some nice influence out there, and we're happy to be somewhat of a role model in certain ways in what we do. So it's just great.
It really is. More training, we do so much education and outreach. Mary, we also have this amazing program called Powerful Tools for Caregivers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. We offer this twice a year because we ourselves are caregivers. The caregivers, it's very easy for them to get worn out, to just fatigue, compassion fatigue. We often put others before ourselves, and so our own health suffers. And that's no good. You can't do that. We got to keep our cup filled so that we can pour into other people's cups. And so cups tend to run very low when you're a caregiver. This program is really a support group. It meets for 6 Wednesdays via Zoom for an hour and a half. And even that's hard for caregivers to take that time away. But we hope that, and we know that if they do it, if they find a way to do it, join us on Zoom, it will change their lives. We really focus on action plans, how to put yourself first, that it's okay to do that. And it's, I think, again, one of those things that's easy to understand, but very difficult to put into daily practice. So this program helps folks take control back over their lives and also provides some good tools for communication, how to deal with sticky situations, just the gamut of caregiving challenges. So if anyone would like to participate in that, please reach out to us. It's just a wonderful program.
It really is. And you lead it, and our volunteer coordinator, Susan Rock, leads it too, doesn't she?
She does, and now Sandy Travis, one of our volunteers and one of our very first Abode doulas, she's going to step in for me. So we're training more of our Abode team to put on these sessions, and yeah, so it's growing.
It's growing. The more people that learn about this, the more people want to do. And I think that's so great. It's a sign of a good leader, Mary, that you're able to inspire people. Kudos.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
We also, part of our education and outreach is the Abode Academy. This spring, we had a really nice program about dementia.
We did. It was our highest attended program. I think dementia is one of the most difficult diseases, and talk about being difficult for the caregiver. It's just a cruel disease. And we had, I think, 5 or 6 sessions, and just very open and honest about what happens to the brain, and just different options. And gosh, that we had, it was just very informational. So if you go on the Abode website and go under education, you'll see a tab for Abode Academy, and you'll find it there. And you actually concluded those sessions with yoga, how yoga philosophies interact with folks who have dementia.
Yeah, and we did some gentle practices too, a lot of cross lateral integration, which is great for healthy brains. We will throw a link in our show notes because not only is this most recent Abode Academy online, but we have our whole catalog of Abode Academies. And so if you want to get lost for a couple days, check out that tab. There's so much rich information on our website.
Yeah, we're very proud of it. We're already planning for what we'll offer in 2025.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear. Speaking of ways that we really differentiate ourselves, we do these pull up a chair events where it's really casual, it's really informal. We serve dessert. We ask people to literally pull up a chair and experience some subject with us. And this spring, we did pull up a chair for alternative therapies. That was really interesting. I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about alternative therapies.
Oh, yeah. We had acupuncturists, massage therapists, sound healing, uh, yoga, a couple of other modalities, just to also have folks remember to incorporate in life in general, but all the way up to those final months and weeks and days. Alternative therapies can bring quite a lot of relief, especially if folks are in pain. Medications certainly help, and so do these therapies. So that was a lot of fun to have demonstrations and learn more about them.
Well, and people can see for themselves how it makes them feel. And I like we can enter into these alternative therapies at different stages of our life. You know, you and I can enjoy these experiences. We're relatively healthy young women. You can also, as a caregiver, really take a lot of peace and comfort from these therapies. And then at the end of life, it can be really wonderful to help ease pain and suffering and make someone feel just more comfortable in their bodies. And then, last but not least, and nothing's really in an order here, but we do something super sweet in November. It's the same weekend as the Dia de los Muertos in San Antonio, and it's the annual reading of the names. And that was held in November this year, November 2nd. What a beautiful tradition, Mary.
A fairly new tradition. Our volunteer Susan Ruck started it. And the idea is to read the name of each guest that we have cared for each November. So, this past reading of the names, we read close to 100. We've cared for close to 100 folks since the last one. And it's very, very sweet. I always get teary. It's just, I don't know how anybody can't. And we invite the families. So to be able to read the name, light a candle, and we chime a singing bowl, and the family is there. It's a beautiful ceremony.
Oh, it is so special. And I think what a wonderful way to keep remembering the names of the people who have died. One of my favorite movies is Coco, and the whole theme of that movie is that nobody really dies until their name is spoken for the last time. And so here we make sure that they live on in our hearts and in our minds by saying their name. And I think that's so important. So that's my top 10 list. I would say we had a pretty decent year, Mary.
It was an outstanding year, a little bit more to go. And
Yeah. Yeah, we still have the Luminarias coming up in December. That is a beautiful event.
And for luminarias, we light a luminaria for each guest that we have served. So this year, I bet we'll light, I would say, about 480 candles in our backyard for the guests that we will have served by then. And then people can purchase luminarias and have them customized for whomever they're honoring or remembering. So, gosh, there may be close to 700 luminarias out in our backyard for December 15th. So if anyone would like to purchase one, check out our website and you'll find it at abodehome.org, a way to place your bid.
Wonderful. We'll put that in the show notes as well. It's so beautiful because the time of day that you do it too is right at that transition time, right? That threshold, that liminal space between day and night. And so it's just beautiful. And then all the candles. We usually have carolers and just people sharing time with each other, sharing space. During the busy holiday season, it's a chance to reflect and to rest a little bit and honor the people who have passed. Yeah. We also have our ongoing programs, Mary. As if that top 10 list wasn't enough, we also are busy with things that happen every week, sometimes every month. Um, we have our deep listening circles, which were started by our volunteers, Linda O'Neill and Catherine Lillibridge. And it's an opportunity for people to get together and deeply listen to each other, to be able to tell their stories without interruption, and to hear people reflect what they heard back to them, which is such a gift. And it's something we can really bring to bedside as people are in the dying process. We can listen to their stories and let them be heard, really giving them that beautiful space. We do our contemplative drumming circle every month, where if it's not too hot, we go outside around our fire pit and just beautifully drum. It's a very meditative experience. It's just really beautiful. We have our Death Cafe, which is held once a month on the second Saturday of every month. We have a weekly meditation run by Ed Alderete, and that's on Thursdays at 11 o'clock. And then you can always come and walk our labyrinth, which is in our beautiful backyard. So, whew, there's a lot going on.
And there's yet another meditation on Zoom at 5 o'clock every Monday that our founder, Edwin Sasek, runs.
There's so many things. So, we'll make comments or whatever. If we've forgotten anything, make sure that you remind us in the comment section. But Mary, I would say congratulations to you for being the lead on this wonderful organization, and just for attracting people who are really drawn to helping others by using their gifts and talents. I think it says a lot about you as a leader, and also a lot about the beautiful seed that was planted by our co-founders, Edwin and Patsy Sasek.
Well, thank you, Natalie. It's a team effort, and it includes our whole abode community. So our doors are open to anyone who would like to be part of that community. And by listening to this podcast, you automatically are.
You are. Congratulations.
Natalie, before I go, I would like to harken back to David Letterman. And he used to have Warren Zevon as his guest many, many times. That's the musician behind Werewolves of London, which I distinctly remember dancing to in the basement of the Sigma Nu house in the 1980s. And Warren Zevon was one of his favorite guests, one of his favorite musicians. Well, he had contracted a terminal illness and he was dying. And David Letterman had him on as a guest for the last time. And he asked Warren Zevon, now that you are dying, is there something you know about death that maybe we don't? And Warren Zevon took a minute and he said, well, not unless it's to enjoy every sandwich. So before I go, I'm going to enjoy every sandwich. How about you?
Yum, that sounds really good. Before I go, I'm going to continue to build on the amazing programming that we have at Abode and to make next year even better than 2024, if it's possible. This is a pretty special year. But to continue building on this beautiful space, but also doing the work myself, continuing to build my own internal abode and strengthening that. So, listeners, what are you going to do before you go? Give us a comment in our comment section. Let us know in this final episode of season 1, what will you do before you go?
Thank you so much for being with us as we start this new adventure in podcasting. We've had a great time.
Thank you for being listeners. We love you so much. See you next season. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Before You Go, the official podcast of Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying.
At Abode, we believe that death is not a medical event. It's a very natural event. So, therefore, we are not offering medical advice. We're simply sharing our experiences and knowledge with you before you go.
Make sure to visit us online at abodehome.org, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and while you're there, click that donate button to help us along. This podcast was edited by Make Your Day Richer.